I walked into that damn ballroom 20 minutes late, sweating through my button-down shirt. My boots echoed on the marble as I tried to blend into the back of the crowd. I was supposed to be early. Hell, I was supposed to be standing next to her when they handed her the plaque. But traffic sucked, and my last customer wouldn't stop talking. And honestly, deep down, I think I already knew something was off. My name's Kevin. I'm 51. I've run a mechanic shop in Henderson, Nevada for over 20 years. The place was packed wall to wall. Teachers, principals, board members, all smiling like they'd been drinking since 4. Her mom and sister were there too, sitting up front, dressed like they were attending the goddamn Oscars. The projector behind the podium was looping photos of her in classrooms, on field trips, hugging kids like she was some kind of saint. Then I saw her, Dana, my wife, looking polished and perfect in that navy suit she always wore for big events. Hair blown out, makeup spotless. She had a wine glass in one hand and a mic in the other. People were crowding around, laughing at every word like she was a celebrity. I stood off to the side near the dessert table, still trying to catch my breath when she tapped her glass and called for everyone's attention. "Thank you all for coming," she said, smiling so wide I barely recognized her. "Tonight isn't just the end of my career in education. It's the beginning of something new, something honest." I frowned. "Honest?" She kept going. "I've spent 25 years doing what was expected of me. Now, I'm finally choosing myself." People clapped. I didn't. My stomach tightened. She raised her glass again. "I want to toast to new beginnings, with my true life partner. Dale, come up here." And just like that, the room froze. Dale. Friggin' Dale, that tanned, too smiley guy from the school district. He stepped up beside her like it was normal, like I didn't exist. She slipped her arm into his like they'd been rehearsing this for weeks. Maybe they had. I heard a gasp. Maybe her sister. Maybe me. Dana looked straight into the crowd and said, "Here's to finally living life authentically." People clapped again, confused and slow. A few looked back at me, just standing there like an idiot in grease-stained jeans, holding a damn card I'd picked up from CVS. She didn't even flinch, didn't look at me once. She left me, and this was how she decided to do it, in front of 200 people at her own retirement party. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just turned and started walking straight toward her. I walked straight up to her, still holding that damn card in one hand. She stepped back when she saw me coming, like I was about to cause a scene. I wasn't. I stopped right in front of her and said, "You got the paperwork?" Her face twitched. I darted to Dale, then to the crowd, then back to me. She reached behind the podium and pulled out a manila envelope like she'd been waiting for this moment. Her fingers shook as she handed it over. "I didn't think you'd come," she said, voice low. "I almost didn't," I replied. "But I figured you'd need a witness to your big announcement." I opened the envelope, pulled the papers out right there on the table next to the punch bowl. Everyone was still staring, trying not to look like they were. I didn't even skim them. I recognized the layout, standard no-fault Nevada divorce. We'd split everything already down the middle last tax season, at her insistence. Guess she'd been planning this for a while. I took the pen from my front pocket, signed every damn page without hesitating. Felt like signing a receipt. I put the pen back and handed the stack back to her. "Congrats on both your retirements," I said. She looked stunned. Not guilty, just thrown off like she expected a fight. Dale didn't say a word, just stood there holding his champagne glass like a jackass. I turned and walked out. Didn't wait for an elevator. Took the stairs down 4 flights and didn't stop till I hit the parking lot. My boots hit the pavement hard. I could still hear the hum of voices through the walls, like bees trapped in a jar. Let them whisper. As soon as I hit the driver's seat, I pulled out my phone and called Maria, my office manager at the shop. "Hey, I'm taking all the vacation time I banked. You'll be fine without me a week or 2. "Yeah. Okay. Sure. Everything good?" "Yeah," I said, finally clear-headed. Next call was to a local storage unit company. Found one with climate control and 24-hour access. Rented a 10 by 10 under my name and paid for 3 months in advance. Then I called a moving service that advertised same-day quotes and weekend pickups. Yeah, I told the guy. 1-bedroom load. Mostly garage stuff. Tools, instruments. The rest can rot. Pickup window? Saturday morning. I'll text you the address. Hung up, turned off my phone, and just sat there for a minute with the engine running and the AC blowing hot air from the vents. I didn't feel sad. Just done. I didn't go back inside the hotel. Didn't text her. Didn't call a friend to vent. She wanted a new life so bad she planned her own little halftime show to end our marriage. Good for her. But I wasn't sticking around for the second act. I stopped by the grocery store and bought a 6-pack and a frozen pizza. Back home, I sat on the porch with my dog, Ringo, and watched the sun drop behind the strip malls and truck stops. He laid his head on my boot like he knew something was changing. You and me, bud, I muttered, sipping a warm beer. Time to pack it up. I went inside and grabbed a notepad from the junk drawer, made a checklist. Bank, utilities, landlord, truck rental, Tulsa contact. I've been saving that last name for a long time. Travis, an old buddy from Oklahoma who owed me a favor and ran a garage of his own. Called him next. You still need a solid hand? I asked. Always, he said. You serious this time? Dead serious. Job's yours. I hung up. The dog barked once like he approved. I spent the next few hours walking room to room, mentally sorting what was mine, what I could haul, what she'd fight for. She could keep the couch, the paintings, the kitchen stuff I never used, the little ceramic owl collection she loved. I didn't want any of it. I just wanted out. By midnight, I had 3 bags packed and a half-empty toolbox waiting by the door. Tomorrow I'd be gone. By sunrise Friday, I was already in the truck. Ringo sat shotgun, chewing a tennis ball, while I sipped burnt coffee from a gas station cup. The bank opened at 8, but I parked outside at 7:30, waiting with the engine running. The second they unlocked the doors, I walked in. Morning, I told the teller, sliding my ID across. I need to close all joint accounts and move my half into checking. Everything's under my name, so it shouldn't take long. She glanced at the screen, then back at me. Is Dana? Nope, just me today. 15 minutes later, I walked out with a cashier's check, $200 in 20s, and an empty savings account with her name on it. She could figure it out later, or Dale could. Next stop was the apartment. Ringo barked when we pulled up, like he already knew this was the last time we'd see the place. I unlocked the door and went straight to the router. Unplugged it, tossed the modem in the donate box. I grabbed my phone and started making calls. Yeah, hi. Cancel the power at address. Final date tomorrow. Water 2. No forwarding address. Wi-Fi's under my name? Great. Shut it down. Each call took less than 5 minutes. Everyone felt better than the last. Then I called the landlord. Hey Chuck, not renewing. I'm out by Saturday. What? Didn't your wife just? Yep, I said. Things changed. He muttered something about contracts and short notice, but I didn't care. Lease was month to month. Legally, I was covered. Morally, she could enjoy her new chapter with candlelight showers and no internet. I walked the place one last time, grabbed my tool chest, both guitars, a couple of crates of old records, Ringo's bed, and the recliner her mom said clashed with the aesthetic. I left the Pottery Barn couch, the one she guilt me into financing because it'd impress guests. Screw the guests. The movers showed up around noon. 2 guys with tattoos and work boots, no small talk. They loaded everything I marked and didn't ask about the rest. I tipped them cash and told them to take whatever they wanted from what was left. One guy asked if his girlfriend could have the dishes. Take 'em all, I said. By 5, the place was stripped bare except for the couch, her owl figurines, and a few framed photos from school events. I left the front door unlocked and the keys on the counter with a note. Lease not renewing. Utilities off. Good luck. I walked out without looking back. Quick stop at the storage unit. Dropped off my stuff, locked the door, and gave Ringo a biscuit for sitting still the whole ride. He wagged his tail, clueless but loyal. Then I drove across town to a cheap motel off I-515. Paid cash for 3 nights. No questions, no ID scan. Just a key card and a room that smelled like lemon cleaner and cigarette cover-up spray. Ringo sniffed every inch before settling on the end of the bed. I dropped my bag, sat down beside him, and cracked a beer from the mini fridge. Tomorrow we'd head east. Before passing out, I called Travis. "Still good?" I asked. "Yep. Shop's busy, tools are ready," and I cleared out the back room. "It ain't pretty, but it's yours till you find a place." "Perfect." "Hey," he added. "You good, man?" I paused. "Getting there." Hung up, turned off the light, pulled the blanket over me with Ringo curled up against my leg. That was the first night I slept 8 hours straight in almost 2 years. We hit Tulsa just before noon that Monday. Ringo had his head out the window, tongue flapping in the wind like he owned the world. I pulled into the lot behind Travis's shop and parked next to a rusted-out Chevy with no hood and 3 different colored doors. Travis stepped out, wiping his hands on a rag, grinning like he knew something I didn't. "You actually made it," he said. "Told you I was serious. People say a lot of things. You brought your dog." "He don't snore worse than me." He laughed and clapped me on the shoulder. "Welcome to hell, brother. Come see what broke today." The shop was rough around the edges. Concrete floors stained black, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, shelves cluttered with old carburetors and half-labeled boxes. But it was honest work. Real work. I could breathe in there. That first week was nothing fancy. Tire rotations, oil changes, brake pads. Paid less than I was making back home, but I didn't care. My name wasn't on a lease with someone else anymore. No rings on the nightstand. No small talk over dinner with someone who already checked out months ago. Travis hooked me up with a studio 5 blocks away. Cracked linoleum, squeaky pipes, a window unit that rattled like a lawnmower. But it had a deadbolt, a roof, and no framed quotes about manifesting joy on the walls. I unpacked my clothes, hung up my guitars, and tossed Ringo's bowl down by the fridge. He circled twice and flopped down on the worn rug like we'd been there forever. Week 2 is when the calls started. Unknown numbers, always around dinner time. I ignored the first few. Then came the voicemails. Her voice, soft, careful. "Kevin, please just hear me out." I deleted them without listening to the end. If she wanted communication, she could talk to a lawyer. I was done playing pen pal with the woman who blindsided me with divorce papers between cake and champagne. Then the emails started. New subject lines, different senders. All her. "Just want to explain. You left so fast. Please." "Nope. You torch the bridge, you don't get to ask for directions back." So I got into a rhythm. Wake up at 6. Walk Ringo while the air was still cool. Coffee and a leftover biscuit. Clock in by 7. We were always busy. Busted radiators, fried spark plugs, busted struts from some jackass trying to off-road a Civic. After work, I'd hit the little market down the street, grab dinner, maybe a 6-pack. Ringo and I would sit on the stoop while the sun dipped low, watch the neighborhood dogs bark through chain-link fences. Inside, it was old movies and dog snores till I crashed. Peaceful. That's the only word I've got for it. By week 3, I started fixing things Travis didn't even ask for. Cleaned the back storage room. Rewired the front sign that hadn't lit up in years. Installed new shelving for parts. Reorganized the register system that looked like it had been built in '98. One night, he caught me under the counter replacing a cracked power strip. "You trying to show me up?" he joked. "Nah, I just like order." He stared for a second, then nodded. "Well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Next morning, I had a new set of shop keys waiting for me with a sticky note that said, "Don't lose 'em." It didn't feel like a big moment. No applause, no speech, but that little ring of keys in my palm felt solid, like the start of something that was mine again. The next Friday, I was wiping down the counter before closing when my phone buzzed with a text from an old mutual friend back in Nevada. Greg, a guy who never minded stirring the pot. He wrote, "Dude, you seeing what's going on with your ex?" I wasn't, and I didn't plan to, but curiosity hit harder than I liked. I called him. He answered on the first ring. Man, you are not gonna believe this. I leaned against the workbench. Try me. So Dale? Her big soulmate or whatever. He's still married. Like, legally married. Wife didn't know a thing till your ex blasted that announcement at her party. I rubbed my jaw, not surprised. Figures. Nah, it gets worse, he said. Wife went straight to the district. Filed complaints. Told them everything. Turns out your ex and Dale were messing around way before she retired. I let out a low whistle. Both of them on the payroll when it started? Yep, and the district's freaking out. Dale got pulled from his program and dumped into some desk job in a windowless room. Your ex lost that consulting contract she bragged about for the last year. I could almost picture her face, that tight smile she used when things slipped out of her control. Greg kept going. They moved into her sister's basement. Said it's for a fresh start, but everyone knows they got pushed out. Nobody wants to be around them. Sounds like a hell of a fresh start, I said. He snorted. Man, you dodged a nuke. I hung up after a minute, set the phone down, and finished wiping the counter. Didn't feel triumphant. Didn't feel angry. Just done. That night, when I got home, I checked Facebook for the first time in months. Her page used to be all motivational crap. Choose joy, live boldly, all that nonsense. Now, nothing for weeks. Last post was a picture of her and Dale at some brewery. Fake smiles, comments turned off. Then a notification popped up. Message request from Carla M. I opened it. Kevin, it's me. I really need to talk to you. Please. It's important. The account was empty, no profile picture, no posts, nothing. Burner account. Her writing, though. I knew her tone anywhere. Polite, but desperate around the edges. I didn't reply. Didn't even hesitate. Blocked the account in 2 taps. Ringo wandered over and nudged my hand, probably sensing the shift in my mood. I scratched behind his ears and took him out for a long walk around the block, letting the night air clear my head. Next morning at the shop, Travis eyed me while I checked the intake logs. You good? He asked. Yeah, I said. Just people from the past sending smoke signals. He raised an eyebrow. You answering them? Nope. Good. Never read the mail you didn't ask for. I cracked a small smile. Something like that. The shop door chimed, and a customer walked in holding a busted alternator. I grabbed the clipboard, motioned him over, and got back to work. Behind me, the new shelving I'd installed was stacked neatly with parts. The lights hummed steady overhead. Ringo was back at the apartment waiting for his afternoon walk. My life was quiet, predictable, steady. Exactly what I needed. Whatever fires she was setting back in Nevada, they weren't my problem anymore. Before lunch, another unknown number tried calling. I silenced it without looking twice. Some doors only stay shut if you don't touch the handle. About 6 months in, I was running most of the shop scheduling, handling vendor orders, and managing inventory. Travis barely touched the books anymore. He just handed me a folder on Mondays and let me run with it. You ever think of opening your own place? He asked one day while I was fixing a parts quote. Maybe down the road, I said. Right now, this is enough. He nodded and tossed me a new health insurance packet. Also gave you a raise. It's on this week's check. That night, I celebrated the only way I knew how. Steak on the cast iron, cold beer, and Ringo sprawled out at my feet, snoring through half a dream. Next morning, I hit the farmer's market like I did most Saturdays. Local eggs, fresh bread, jerky from the guy who always said, try the spicy, clears the sinuses. Same loop, same rhythm. I was picking through some peaches when a woman leaned down next to Ringo and scratched behind his ears. Is he friendly? He is if you've got snacks, I said, looking up. She laughed. Wavy brown hair pulled into a messy bun, scrubs under a flannel, sneakers covered in dog fur. She looked like she hadn't slept, but didn't care. I'm Lisa, she said. Vet tech. I can usually spot a healthy mutt when I see one. I nodded toward Ringo. That mutt's named Ringo. I'm Kevin. She straightened up. He's got good energy. You seem like you don't talk much. I usually don't. She smiled. Coffee vendors over there. You buying or am I? We walked the loop together, coffee in hand. Talked about nothing heavy, favorite bands, worst customers, what time of year allergies hit hardest. I didn't mention my ex. She didn't ask if I had one. Felt simple. We kept meeting on Saturdays. Then Thursdays. Then she invited me to a cookout at her friend's place. And I brought beer and ribs and didn't overthink anything. No games. No power struggles. Just two grown adults with separate lives who didn't need to lean on each other, but still wanted to see each other. She had her own apartment, her own car, her own bills. Didn't flinch when I told her I was divorced. Didn't treat it like a red flag. Just nodded and said, "People screw up. Doesn't mean you have to." Meanwhile, the past didn't stay quiet. One night, my brother called from back in Nevada. "You're not gonna believe who just called me," he said. "Let me guess. She asked if I knew where you were living now. Like I'm just gonna hand it over. She really think I'd tell you anything useful?" He laughed. "You think she's losing it? She's already lost it." A few days later, I got a text from Maria, my old office manager back at the shop in Henderson. "Hey, your ex just emailed asking if you were okay. Wanted your number. Said it was urgent." I wrote back one line. "Ignore her. She knows what she did." Lisa and I were walking Ringo that night when I told her about it. She didn't get shaken. Just shook her head and said, "That woman's got nerve." "You worried?" I asked. She looked me dead in the eye. "If I wanted a man I had to babysit, I'd work overtime." I laughed so hard Ringo jumped. I didn't need grand declarations or some fairy tale. I just needed this walks at dusk, real talk, and no one pretending to be something they weren't. And I'd be damned if I let my ex drag me back to chaos. It started with my landlord. He called one afternoon while I was elbow deep in a transmission job. "Hey Kevin, weird thing. I got a call from someone claiming to be your cousin. Said she was trying to get back in touch." I wiped my hands on a rag. "What was her name?" "She said Carla. Carla Matthews or something." My jaw locked. "That's not my cousin. That's my ex-wife." He whistled. "Damn. She really went there." "Yeah. She's fishing." Well, I didn't tell her anything. Just said I'd pass along the message. I hung up and sat on the edge of the lift for a minute, watching oil drip slow from the undercarriage like time stretching thin. I knew that name she used, the same burner account she messaged me from a while back. She wasn't just fishing. She was digging. Next came Lisa's phone. She showed me screenshots one night while we were cooking. "I think this is her," she said, flipping through a bunch of Instagram follows with no profile pics, no posts. A few of them liked her photos from the last month. "You sure?" I asked. "Same naming pattern. Always some variation of a woman's name plus two numbers. New ones every week." She blocked them all, rolled her eyes, and went back to seasoning the chicken like we weren't being digitally stalked. But it escalated. Greg texted me again. "She just showed up at the old shop. Asked if you were there. Said she had unfinished business." I called Maria. "She really did," she confirmed. "Walked in like it was normal. Told us she needed your forwarding address." "What did you say?" I laughed. So did Pete. Then we told her to leave before we called the cops. She actually left? Eventually. Not before saying she just wanted closure. Like she didn't get that already. It was almost funny until it wasn't. The next day, Lisa got a voicemail from a blocked number. A slow, measured voice. Definitely her. "We need to talk about the man we share." Lisa played it for me while we sat on the couch. She didn't look scared, just irritated. "What kind of high school movie is she living in?" she muttered. "You okay?" I asked. "I'm annoyed. That's it. You gonna handle it?" "Yeah," I said. "I am." Next morning, I drove straight to the courthouse and filed for a restraining order. Walked up to the clerk with a folder of screenshots, call logs, and Greg's written statement. Laid it all out like a blueprint of her spiral. "She's escalating," I told the woman behind the glass. "She's showing up, calling people, impersonating family. I want it to stop before it gets worse." Do you feel physically threatened? Not yet, but I'm not gonna wait for that. She nodded. You're doing the right thing. We'll process it fast. It felt strange, scribbling down the history of someone I used to know better than anyone. But that version of her was long gone, buried under whatever mess she'd made with Dale and whatever fantasy she'd built about me still being stuck. That night, I told Lisa it was filed. She nodded once and passed me the remote. "Wanna watch Jaws or Die Hard? Whichever one has less sharks." She laughed and leaned back on the couch. We didn't talk about my ex again that night. Didn't need to. 2 days later, I saw the silver Subaru idling across the street from my place. Same one she used to drive to school. Same cracked bumper on the back left side. I was standing in the kitchen, pouring coffee, when Ringo growled low by the front door. I looked through the blinds and felt my stomach go cold. She was parked facing my house, engine on, just sitting there. I didn't hesitate. Threw on my boots, grabbed the folder off the kitchen table, and stepped outside. She flinched when I walked straight toward her window. I didn't knock, didn't wave, just stood a few feet away and said, loud enough to cut through the windshield, "You're trespassing. You've got 30 seconds before I call the cops." She rolled the window down like this was some casual visit. "Kevin, wait. Just let me talk to you," she said. Her voice cracked on that last word, like she thought that would still work on me. "Nope," I said. "You came to my home. After everything you pulled. That's over. I made a mistake, okay? I didn't think. You thought just fine. I cut in. You thought so clearly you waited until your retirement party to blow up our marriage in front of 200 people. Tears welled up. Real or not didn't matter. I didn't know how else to. You could have had a conversation, a text, a damn post-it note, anything but that circus act you called a toast." She started to say something else, but I pulled out the paper from the folder and held it up. "Here, this is a copy of the restraining order, officially filed. You show up here again, you're getting cuffed." She stared at it like it was written in another language. "Kev, I've lost everything. My job, Dale. Not my problem. I just thought maybe." "You thought wrong," I snapped. "You don't miss me. You miss control. You miss people not looking at you like you're insane." She went quiet, lip trembling, hands shaking on the steering wheel. I wasn't moved. "This isn't regret," I said. "This is consequences." She blinked hard, a single tear running down her cheek. "I didn't think you'd ever stop loving me." I laughed once, flat and humorless. "That's your problem. You thought I'd always stay. You don't get to burn the bridge and be shocked when I don't swim back." I dropped the paper on her dashboard through the open window. "You need to leave. Now." She looked at me for a few seconds like she wanted to say more, but her mouth stayed shut. She finally started the car, put it in gear, and drove off slow, wiping at her eyes like she was the one who'd been blindsided. I stood in the driveway until she was out of sight. I didn't feel angry, didn't feel vindicated, just relief. The next weekend, I took Lisa to the same park we'd walked through on our second date. The one with the beat-up picnic tables and the oak trees that leaned like old men too stubborn to fall over. She wore a flannel over a hoodie and brought extra treats for Ringo, like always. We took our usual path past the pond and sat on our usual bench. She had no idea I'd been carrying the ring in my jacket pocket all week. When the sun hit just right through the branches, I reached in and pulled it out. "Don't need a speech," I said. "You already know what you mean to me." Her eyes didn't blink. "Are you asking?" I nodded. "Then yes," she said, just like that. No pause, no drama. Like we were just deciding on dinner. I slid the ring on her finger, and she looked down at it like it was a practical thing. Not some fairy tale, but something solid. Something earned. A couple days later, our engagement photo ran in the local paper. Lisa's idea. Small-town tradition. We took it in front of the shop with Ringo sitting between us like a furry witness. Less than 24 hours later, the chaos came clawing back. Blocked numbers started hitting my phone nonstop. For 5 calls in a row. No voicemails, just constant buzzing. I turned off notifications and kept my phone face down on the kitchen counter. Then Lisa got the call at work. One of the vet techs passed her a sticky note. Blocked number. Female voice. Said, "We're not done." Lisa read it, sighed, and texted me a photo of the note with just 2 words. She knows. That night, I drove straight to the courthouse and updated the restraining order. Showed them the call logs, the photo, the engagement announcement. The woman at the front desk frowned as she flipped through the pages. She's escalating again? She always does when she's not in control. We'll fast-track the update, she said. You want police patrol on your street? I thought about it for half a second. No, just want it on record. Back home, Lisa was curled up on the couch with Ringo, watching a documentary about people who raised pigs in their living rooms. Everything handled? She asked as I came in. For now. She patted the spot beside her and handed me a blanket. We didn't talk about the ex, didn't need to. She knew I had it handled, and I knew she wasn't going anywhere. 2 weeks later, we closed on a house, small, 1-story, fenced yard. Nothing fancy, but it had a work shed out back, a big bay window in the kitchen, and a creaky front porch that felt like something we could build on. We painted the walls ourselves. Took 3 weekends and too many arguments over what shade of warm white actually counted as warm. But it was ours. Every nail, every smudge, every stubborn screw in the cabinet hinges. Ours. Ringo claimed the backyard like it was a castle. Spent every afternoon laying in the sun, barking at nothing, tail thumping like a drumline. One morning, I stood at the kitchen sink, rinsing out a coffee mug, and caught Lisa in the backyard chasing him in her slippers. Her hair was a mess. She was laughing, and I swear, it hit me right then. This was the life I was supposed to have. No guessing, no games, no walking on eggshells around someone who only saw me as a stepping stone. I dried my hands, stepped out onto the porch, and leaned against the rail. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. It was a Saturday morning, cool and quiet. I was out front checking the gutters when I saw her. She was standing across the street, half hidden behind a tree, just staring at the house. Same ratty coat, arms crossed like she'd been there a while. No car in sight, just her and whatever she was carrying on her face. I didn't hesitate, walked down the steps, across the yard, and stopped right at the edge of the driveway. "You're trespassing," I said calmly. "Cops are 1 dial away." Her eyes were sunken. She didn't move, just whispered, "I didn't know where else to go." "That's not my problem." She took 1 shaky step forward, then stopped. I lost everything. Dale left. His wife took him back. The board cut ties with me. Even my sister wants me out by next month. I didn't flinch. "You wanted a fresh start without me," I said. "Well, you got it." She nodded slowly, like that stung more than if I'd yelled. Her lip quivered. "Do you think you could ever forgive me?" I didn't blink. "Already did," I said. "That's how I moved on. But forgiveness doesn't mean I want you back." She dropped her gaze, wiped her face with her sleeve, didn't say anything else. I turned and walked back toward the house. Didn't look over my shoulder. When I stepped inside, Lisa was at the kitchen counter, pouring coffee into 2 mugs like nothing had happened. She handed me one without a word. I took it, sat down, and exhaled. That was the last time I ever saw my ex-wife. The wedding was quiet. Backyard ceremony, string lights, brisket on the grill, and just the people who mattered. No drama, no speeches, just peace. Ringo wore a little bow tie. Lisa wore boots under her dress. We danced on the back patio with the dog asleep under the table and the sun setting behind the shed I built myself. Sometimes, disappearing isn't running away. Sometimes, it's the loudest statement you can make.